This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Welcome back. Web shop operators up against the clock today in an effort to meet a number of deadlines or be forced to close. While we understand that most web shop operators have complied, one web shop owner telling our Janana Well Ferguson that the move to regularization has been long awaited.
As the government aims to regularize the gaming sector, one web shop operator, Devon Jones, CEO of Fantasy Games, notes this is a defining moment for gaming in the country, removing the veil from what was only talked about in hushed tones or behind closed doors. Now he says it's accessible for all.
We're not going to be doing any crass advertisement or any, making it rain, throwing money in the air type of thing. It's going to be a business as though any other business would function.
Web shop operators had until Tuesday, December 9th, to submit sworn affidavits or face foreclosure. Jones, who was once affiliated with Woodfall, says those ties have since been severed and Fantasy Games has been independent since July of this year. He adds that they have met the necessary deadlines and applauds the government for the bold move to regularize web shop.
Quite frankly, it only makes you run your business better. And we have always practiced good business practices in terms of record keeping, etc. So that's not something that's going to be new to us. I think that obviously it brings a new level of accountability to the industry for all the operators, and I think everybody in the industry welcomes it.
But gaming regularization has casualties, as dozens of employees operating mobile devices were terminated. Jones believes there will be more opportunities for employment once the process is completed.
We can't be so short-sighted as to look at, we lose a couple of jobs for a few months. There may be even more after the process is completed. So, we're very optimistic of what could come of this.
Jones pointed to a number of changes that are expected.
In the industry, they're definitely going to push the envelope. They're going to push it a little further than where, if the government said we could go here, they could say, can we get here? And we're going to continue to ask that.
Jones adds that their plans are global and they hope to have a strong presence in the Caribbean. Already, he says they've had success in 2 jurisdictions and those expansion plans will only continue. Janana Well Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
All right, well, another newly established web shop going on the record after becoming compliant with regulations outlined in the newly enacted gaming bill. One of the principals of a Shorewind web shop is saying that beyond just being compliant, his company is more interested in being a good steward for players that might not always make the right decisions.
We always want to help in our community.
And co-CEO of Shorewind, Leander Bryce, says a part of his company's efforts to help the community is through the promotion of a new kind of gaming, and they're calling it the responsible way to play. It's the company's new motto which will drive the effort.
And we hear the cries of, persons who, who talk about persons taking their last dollar and going into the gambling houses or the online gaming houses and facilitating their needs. But what we want to promote is we want you to participate with disposable income, like income that is not your last and won't hurt your family.
Bryce is no stranger to the business community, having started a number of successful computer and retail ventures. And for this young entrepreneur who is partnered with Garvin Newbone, it's more than just about reaping the obvious benefits of the gaming industry. And while Bryce says the company is in the business of making money, it will not neglect its customers, particularly those that might fall prey to the dangers of gambling. This, as noted psychologist Dr. David Allen told ZNS News recently, that 10 to 20% of gamblers develop an addiction.
We have now employed consulates, and we're going to establish a hotline where persons could contact these consulates to now help them and guide them along the way in terms of what are the do's and don'ts of gambling, even if it's for you. As you know, gambling isn't for everybody.
The company's community building efforts don't end there. Its newest initiative, Youth and Education, Environment and Sports, otherwise known as YES, will be rolled out soon.
We're in the communities, and our key goal is to help the persons and people in general, especially in those communities that we're in and our company's in. And people always say we take from the community, but we put a lot back in the community through hiring employees, through events, but I think through the program itself is going to be established in just about every community. The center is going to be close by, reachable for all Bahamians to go ahead and participate in, the training seminars, the educational programs, the tutoring, the sports, what's going on in the country. And I think it's going to help build our whole economy and the nation as a whole,
Well, a sand-covered road in Sandy Port posing a challenge for motorists today. As Cleopatra Murphy tells us tonight, this is not the first time this has happened, but a local environmental group is using this to raise awareness about a serious issue that more Bahamians should be aware of.
Sand covered the road at Sandy Port, forcing at least one driver to get out of their vehicle and push it after it became stuck. Mounds of the sand washed in by surge had to be cleared to restore traffic flow. Incidents like this are evidence of climate change, more importantly rising sea levels, the effects of which Executive Director of the Bahamas Reef Environmental Educational Foundation, Kazarina McKinney-Lambert, says the country is particularly vulnerable to.
Most of our islands are within just a few feet of sea level. In fact, the highest point in our whole country is on Cat Island, and that's only 206 feet above sea level. So most of our critical infrastructure is right along the coast. It means that we are one of the most vulnerable countries in the world when it comes to climate change.
McKinney-Lambert says with sea level rise an area of growing concern, the country must prepare to take important steps to prepare for the associated changes. Entire countries have been flooded because of rising sea levels, and she says these are risks Bahamians must be aware of.
We need to think about where we're building. The country is in the process of putting together a land use plan that will basically say these are the low-lying areas, they're not so suitable for development, these are the higher areas that are more suitable for development. And we really need to bear that in mind when we're deciding where to put hotels, roads, houses, those kinds of things.
Area resident Elspeth Carey calls the situation that frequently happens in Sandy Port dreadful and says after many years something could have been done.
All they have to do is block in this area, put wooden steps over for access, or make an opening further down. But to leave this open like this all these years, it just doesn't make sense.
Lambert says Bahamians must think about protecting the coral reefs that buffer the land from storm surge. She says individuals can work to mitigate against climate change by burning less fossil fuels and using more alternative means of energy. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.